Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So, hello, everyone. Happy New Year. And we'll have this today's session, right? So, we are having Mr. Shankar Venkatesan here today, right? And he's going to give us, sorry, he's going to give us some, share his thoughts and some insight about staying resilient in the face of challenges. Okay. And as in the previous session, I'm going to record this session, and I'm also requesting you to keep your cameras on if you can, some of you at least, and keep your microphone mute. And if there's any question, you can always unmute and ask, but otherwise please keep your microphone mute and your phone in silent mode. And I'm just going to give a brief introduction about Mr. Shankar Venkatesan.
Yeah.
Uh, he's here from today for us, and from he is presently at Dubai. Okay, and his background is in chartered accountancy, which is here we call here as a CPA, if you know, who works on managing accounts for big businesses, organizations, and things like that. So he started his career. I'm going to give a brief intro, and he can self-introduce more in detail. He started his career with Cooper. So that's a big organization in chartered accounting in business world. And he worked for a bank back in India, and then for Emirates Airlines, and then Shell Corporation, the gas station you might have seen, which you are familiar with. So he has worked for such giant organizations, and now he's doing his own consulting business, and he's going to share his uh, you know experience and thoughts with us. Okay. With that, I will give this floor to him to start with the brief introduction and continue with the talk. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Venkat. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Those who are not speaking, if you can go on mute, that would be great, as Venkat requested. So, as I mentioned, my name is Sankar Venkatesan. I live in Dubai. I've been in Dubai for the last 30 years. And yeah, though I qualified as a chartered accountant, I never worked as an accountant. My line of work has always been outside of accounting. Not that I hated accounting, but it just happened to be such that I never took up accounting as a profession. I was a tax consultant, and before that I was a treasurer, and before that I was a banker and auditor. So that's about the qualification. Though yes, I'm a chartered accountant. So can you see my screen? Is it visible to all of you?
No,
No,
not
we
yet.
can't.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
No.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay. As Venkat mentioned, I've worked in different organizations, and my working career spans around 30 years. I'm 57 now. And these 30 years in different organizations, in different roles, in different countries, has given me a lot of experience, which I thought it would be good to share with some of you, or some experiences with you all. And then, you know, uh, know from you or learn from you what you think of my experience and what you want to share with the group. So let me just go to the next one. For a second. Is the screen moving? Are you able to see the screen
Yes.
moving?
Yeah.
Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm 57 years old. I was born in a very small village in Tamil Nadu. It's called Varakalpat. None of you would have heard of the village. That's where I started my life. It's a very nondescript village, and I was the first. In fact, our family was the first to produce a lot of professionals. My brother is a doctor. He's an eye surgeon living in Malaysia. He was the first doctor from the village. And then, it led to a string of professionals like banker, chemist, chartered accountant, engineer, and so on. So we're a big family. All of us were fortunate to be qualified, and because of the focus and guidance given by our parents, all of us came out reasonably successfully in life, and we are all settled in different parts of the world. I'm living in Dubai. In addition to my chartered accountancy, or CPA as you call, I also completed my internal auditor course. That's from the US, also information systems auditor, also from the US. And I worked in India, Dubai, Iran, and Poland. Not in the same order, but I worked in different countries. As Venkat mentioned, I started my career with PwC. It's a huge sort of auditing and consultancy organization. Then I moved on to IDBI, then moved to Dubai, working for Emirates Airlines in different roles. And finally, I moved to Shell, different roles, different countries. And after working for Shell for 18 years, I stopped working and started my own consultancy. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is a bit of what I experienced in my working life, and what I learned, and those sort of things. And I'm sure some of you may be able to relate to that, and some of you may be able to gain from that. At the same time, I don't want this to be a one-way discussion, a one-way talk. It should be a monologue. So I want it to be as participative as possible, which means I'm going to stop talking in the next 15, 20 minutes, or maximum 30 minutes, leaving the remaining time for you to ask questions or share your thoughts. It's not always that I'm going to be able to answer all your questions, but if you can share your thoughts, your thinking on whatever I'm talking about, that will be great. That will not only benefit me, but will also benefit the remaining participants. Is that okay, Venkat? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, a bit more about myself. I'm a person with extremely positive outlook. When I say extremely positive outlook, in whatever situation it is, I always look at the positive side as to what I can do, what I can learn, how I can manage the situation, or whatever may be the challenges. That's about me. I mean, it's part of me, and I can't change it. It's not that I was born like that. I consciously made an effort to change my outlook to being positive, given whatever the circumstances. So I had a great career in my in the last 30 years. I worked in very good companies in different roles. That's one of the most fulfilling parts of my life.
Sankar.
Yeah, those who are not speaking, if you can go on mute, please. So when I took up my working life, I decided that I'm not going to be an employee forever. I made up my mind that I'm going to retire at some point, not wait for my retirement at 60 or 65. I was planning to retire at 45, but it got prolonged by another 10 years because the work was good, the money was good, I was enjoying it. But at 55, I decided enough is enough. You made enough money, you had a great career. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it again, or never going to do it. So at 55, I stopped working and I took a bit of a sabbatical. I'll talk about it later. That sabbatical was basically for traveling. I'm very passionate about traveling. Again, it's something which I developed a keen interest in when I was very young. And thankfully, my work took me to different parts of the world. In addition, I have also gone to a lot of countries as part of my exploration, if you may call it, because the more you travel, the more you realize that there's so much to see and to learn and to enjoy, and you're just a speck in the whole world. So that's what keeps me still passionate about traveling, knowing people, seeing different places, trying out different things, and then realizing that you know very little. So I've seen around 50 plus countries so far, done around 800 plus flights. And but for the COVID, I'd have probably seen some more countries and traveled some more flights, but I not traveled for the last 10 months, mainly because of COVID. The last trip I did was sometime in March 2019 when I was in India. So once again, it's a bit of a repetition. As Venkat mentioned, I had a very humble beginning working with PricewaterhouseCoopers in Bengaluru and Chennai, alternating between the two cities. I spent 1 year working with them, and then I was picked up by IDBI They picked me up only because I was a rank holder. In India, you get an all India ranking for the first 50 rank holders. There are hundreds of thousands of people who are appearing for the exam. Of that, only a very small percentage actually cleared the exam in the first attempt. And I was lucky to be one of them. And I stood 45th in the whole of the country. That was many, many years ago. That was in 1985. After working for IDBA for 5 years in Mumbai, um, I somehow managed to find a job in Emirates Airlines through people who sent my CV to Emirates Airlines. I wasn't really expecting to move because I was quite enjoying Mumbai and work with IDBI, but Emirates happened and I couldn't be happier than that because Emirates is a very popular airline. And when I joined Emirates, it was beginning to take off. So I grew with the airline. The airline was growing very, very fast, and I grew along with the airline, doing different roles in very quick successions. So again, when I was in Emirates, I thought that was the ultimate because the money was good, the position was good, the recognition was even better. And I thought, okay, I made my career, this is where I'm going to stay. In addition to all the career benefits, you also get a lot of free flights because you get to travel so much on work, and even when you travel free, on leisure, you get highly subsidized tickets. So I thought my life is made. I can, help my family travel a lot. I can travel a lot. I said I'm going to stay on Emirates. But as luck would have it, as fate would have it, my CV ended up with Shell. The manager was looking for a person to join a small team of a project team. And we had a discussion and things happened. I took a very big decision to move from a very secure, well-paying, happy job in Emirates to Shell. So the 9 long years in Emirates, different roles. I moved to Shell, completely unconnected industry from airline. So when I moved from a bank to an airline, that was a big risk because I had no idea how an airline functioned in terms of, whether it is accounts payable, treasury, or audit, or whatever it is. I jumped into the offer because it enabled me to move out of Mumbai and go to a foreign country. And it's an airline, so I'm going to be able to fulfill my dream of traveling a lot. I moved into Emirates Airlines and quickly learned the tricks of the trade. Of course, I should thank the organization for giving me all those opportunities, but I made use of them and grew very quickly in the organization. And then I moved to Shell, the same story, great organization, fantastic people, highly professional. You get enormous opportunities to learn. So I quickly learned the tricks of the trade, as you may say, about the oil and gas industry. And I moved from job to job to job to job. In the 18 years that I spent, I probably would have done around five, six different jobs in 3 different countries, or 4 different countries. So that's about my career, starting from PwC, moving to a bank, and moving to an airline, and moving to the oil and gas industry. Then at 55, I decided that it's already 10 years late. I want to retire at 45. Now I'm 55. So I took a difficult decision to stop working. And when you're working for a great organization, which has a lot of respect for what you're doing, and when you have so much recognition and the money is damn good, it was a very difficult decision to take. But with the support of my family, I was able to take the decision, and then I stopped working. So I'll go to the next part later, but what I would like to share here is what I learned in my working life. So not only in a corporate environment, but even in general life in general, what makes you a person, or what make you a person, are certain basic qualities that you have. When I talk about somebody, you always relate that person to his basic or his or her basic qualities. Oh, he's a very nice person. He's a very cheerful person. He's a team player, or he's a problem. He's a crack, or he's a very difficult person to deal with. So what defines you is the basic set of values that you have. So from my perspective, I have clearly set certain rules for myself, and by and large, I have been following them. The basic thing is being a person of integrity. Just being yourself, being authentic and making sure that you follow the rules of honesty and doing what you're saying and saying what you're doing. So this helps you go a long way in life in general, particularly in corporate life. The integrity is something which corporates appreciate, professional corporates appreciate, and that will help you stay your course and live in peace. The next thing is having a positive attitude. You're never going to be having only good experiences in life. There are going to be setbacks along the journey, because life is, it's a journey. It's going to be both ups and downs, good and bad, challenges, happy moments. But whatever is the situation, you have to remain positive and look forward as to how I can manage the situation, how I can move on from here, what I can learn from this, rather than complaining about why is it happening to me, why not somebody else, or it's always happening to me. So it's not that I have only had pleasant experiences. I have had setbacks in life, but I have never lost hope. I have never once felt that I am being targeted by fate or God or something like that. So remaining positive makes you again look forward to life and enjoy life. Being a team player, it's more of a corporate stuff, but even in real life, in your day-to-day life, being a team player means that you take into account the needs, the wants, the anxieties of your near and dear ones at home or your teammates in a corporate environment. So, I mean, you can be a sole player, that doesn't really take you too far. Being a team player means that you're able to help people when they are in need. You're able to address their needs, address their concerns, address their anxieties, and then help them realize their potential. So if you look at any organization, they always insist on, oh, is he a good team player? Or he's not a good team player. So let's not look at him for this position. So being a team player means that you are able to get things done in a far more cooperative manner and deliver results. You could be a sort of sole borrower, but it doesn't take you too far in the organization as it is in life. So that's another basic value that I always follow. Along with that is respect for people. So in life, as in a corporate environment, you are going to meet different type of people from different backgrounds with different set of issues. There could be somebody who's got a lot of problems in life, and you just can't afford to discard anybody in your life. Have respect, basic respect for people. Not everybody is going to be as fortunate as you are. Most of us are very fortunate. The fact that you live in a very good country with a lot of opportunities means that you are very fortunate, but not everybody is going to be. So when you come across people who are not that fortunate, make sure that you have respect for them as human beings and try and see how you can help them come up. Coaching, it's next, corporate thing. Companies always appreciate people who can coach others to realize their potential. Now, why is that important? Again, the question is not everybody is going to be as fortunate or as intelligent as you are. You're going to come across people who are less endowed compared to you. So the way that you can help them is to coach them to realize their potential, whether it is in life, in personal life, or in corporate life. Coaching doesn't mean that you give up your ambitions or your potential. What it means is that in addition to realizing your potential, in addition to realizing your ambitions, you're also helping someone else realize. Someone else's growth does not mean your failure. You both can grow together. The next one is resilience, which is the focus of this discussion. Resilience is basically an attitude to look at the future with optimism than ruining the past. As in corporate life, even in personal life, you're going to face setbacks. There is hardly anybody in life who has had only positive experiences or only good things happen to them.
There will always be situations where you meet difficult people or difficult situations. Now, you can basically respond in two different ways. Take it as something that's always happening to you, or you've been handpicked for such an experience or bad situation, and then continue to blame everybody around you for what's happened to you. The other option is for you to look at the situation, learn from that, and take a decision. Okay, this is my learning. This is what I am going to do to make sure that I learn from this and I do something better and look forward to the future. So, more so in corporate life, we use this term resilience because in today's corporate environment, there is no certainty. Things are changing so fast that if you're not someone who is resilient, you're going to be lagging behind. Now, the technology is changing. The way companies work keeps changing. And the companies today are not the companies of 50 years ago. My dad started his work in a company, stayed with the company until he retired when he was 60. But today, companies do not hesitate to get rid of people when it suits them. You may be a good performer, but if your line of work is not required by them, you're going to find yourself by the wayside. So how do you handle such situations in personal life as well as in corporate life is what resilience is all about. Be strong, be mentally strong, know what's happening around you, prepare yourself for challenges. I wouldn't call them setbacks. There is always going to be challenge in your life. And then prepare yourself for how to meet the challenge, how to manage the challenge, and how to thrive after the challenge. That's what resilience is all about. And along the way, you should be willing to take a few risks in life. I'm not saying that you should be reckless and take some, unreasonable risks in life. But if you don't take risks, you don't get the rewards. In my personal case, joining Emirates Airlines, an unknown organization in an unknown country, leaving a well-paying job in India, a bank, was a small risk. But you take a risk looking at all the pros and cons, and then take a decision which is balanced. Okay, this is what is at stake. If I lose, this is what I'm going to lose. But if I win, this is what I'm going to get. Hence, it's a balanced decision, and the pros are better than the cons. I'm going to take a risk. So there are some people who are very, very risk averse, and some people who are very risk prone. It's a varying degree, but at the end of the day, what it means is that look at the situation, see what the pros and cons are, and then take a balanced decision. Don't be reckless. Okay, I'm not suggesting that you should take a risk only because taking a risk is very funny or interesting, but take a risk when you know what is at stake. And finally, also learning to say no, both in personal life as well as in corporate life. You have to have the ability to say no to certain people under certain circumstances. You are not here to be seen as a good person in everybody's viewpoint. That's almost impossible, I would say. If there is somebody who is seen as very good in everybody's eyes, yeah, he's very lucky, number one. Number two, maybe he hasn't done anything different. So if you're going to be taking a few risks in your life, if you're going to be doing something different and better, there is always situations where somebody is going to say, he's maybe rude, he's arrogant, but you have to have the ability to say no when it is required. For example, in my case, when I wanted to retire at 55, when I've realized my career options or potential and realized my monetary potential, I said, I'm going to resign. But my boss tried so much to retain me in the organization because he had a lot of plans around me. And I could have just continued, but I had to say no, not because I didn't like working anymore. It's because my mind was set that I have to do something different. I have to explore the world. I have to, try out new things. And what it meant was that I wasn't able to deliver what the company expected of me. They were paying me so much money, and they expected so much of me, and I was only delivering 70, 60% of that. There was a conflict in me that, they're paying you so much, but you're not being true to yourself. You're not being true to the organization. So I told my boss, hey, I'm not into the job anymore. I don't think I can do justice to what you're doing to me because you're paying me so much. You expect so much from me, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. So I have to say no. It was a very difficult decision for me. But at the same time, it was a very good decision because when you have a conflict between what others expect of you and what you're able to deliver, it's not a good situation for you to be in. It's going to impact your health. It's going to impact your delivery and your personal life. So at certain points in time, you have to have the ability to say no when you know that saying yes is not going to help anybody. So in terms of timing, I just want to make sure that I don't overstep my limit. Yeah, so that's as far as my corporate life is concerned. Almost 30 years of working in different organizations, living by certain values and learning along the way. And in 2018, I took the big step of stopping working for an organization. I didn't immediately go into my practice. I took a conscious decision to travel. So I traveled mostly in the US and Canada, driving back and forth, starting from Maine to Seattle and vice, the other way around, and visiting a lot of places, meeting a lot of people, experiencing different things, eating different types of food, and having a great time in summary. So I spent almost 18 months, most of the time on the road. I traveled the back and forth, the length and breadth of US, Canada. You can see in the map in the right-hand side, the route that I took, and probably around 120 to 130 days in the US in all, and maybe around 70, 80 days in Canada. And the remaining time traveling in UK, Ireland, Turkey, and India. So these are the major trips I did, and I couldn't thank my good fortune enough for having been able to do that. It's something which I really enjoy doing. I continue to enjoy doing it. And I was happy that I took a decision to move away from an active working life because the freedom that you get, the amount of pleasure you get traveling is something which you can only experience when you do it. Most of you are very young. You would have ample opportunities to do that. But yeah, if you get a chance to do that, I would strongly recommend that you try out traveling. It's not the destination. It's really the travel itself, the journey, the people that you meet, the places that you see, the history that you learn, and the type of food. At the end of the day, you learn that people, wherever they are, whatever may be their background, we are all the same. We have the same set of expectations, being able to be happy, being able to provide for our family, being able to make our people happy, avoid sorrow, avoid sadness. And we all have the same needs, wants, and concerns or anxieties. That's the bottom line. And you also realize that you're just a tiny dot in the whole scheme of things. So it makes you very, very humble. It makes you realize how fortunate you are in life. And it also makes you realize that, keep your ego aside. Generally people are not very egoistic, but sometimes you come across people who are very egoistic. That may make them happy, but in my personal opinion, it doesn't really help anybody being egoistic. As I mentioned, again, going back to the basic values, being a team player, coaching, helping others, taking people along are the basic values that brings you happiness, joy, personal growth, and peace. You not only grow, you also let others grow. So that's about my travel. As I mentioned, I've been to 50 plus countries, probably around 53, 54 countries in different continents. It's the list is still only half complete. I got so many other countries to cover, and I'm sure I'm going to be able to do it once the pandemic settles down. And thankfully, what I do now as a consultant enables me to do that. My job is mostly remote. I help oil and gas companies manage the tax function, I have a lot of experience in managing the tax function as a whole, like the governance, how do you set up a tax function, what type of skills you need, what type of people that you need, what type of functions one should be doing, all those, good things. So that's my background, and I'm able to help a lot of companies in the region. As most of you may know, Middle East is where the oil is, most of it. So a lot of big oil and gas companies, are the company that I work with. Uh, so that's about my current role. So going back to my travel, as I mentioned, there is so much to see and learn. Um, there's so much beauty around. Okay, if you go to a country like Jordan, I don't know, whether you heard of the country called Jordan. Such a beautiful country. People always have a notion that Middle East is very conflict driven or conflict zone. It's not very safe. But the people that are so hospitable, so nice, and the country has got a fantastic landscape and so much history. Like just one country, okay, if you look at country like Tunisia or Egypt in the Middle East, or go to, whether it is Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, oh, there's so much beauty around. It only needs to be discovered by you. At the very bottom, as I mentioned, we are all the same. We want to love and we want to be loved and have a good life and to provide a good life to our people. When I say our people, your parents, your children, your grandchildren, your uncles, aunts, friends, everybody. Okay, that's all we want to do basically at the bottom of it. There may be exceptions. There are always exceptions everywhere in life. There could be somebody who wants to make your life miserable, but those are exceptions. Again, your resilience is going to help you to manage such people. So, keeping all the good things in mind, keep your mind very, very open and open to exploring new things. That's what's going to make your journey a happy one. At the end of it all, even today as we speak, we are all mortal. It may happen so that in the next 100 years we may become immortal, but as of now, we are all mortal human beings. One day, our day is going to come to an end. So how you spend your time from birth until that end is what's going to make or enrich your life. You're not going to define your life based on what others think of you. You have to do what makes you happy. And what should ideally as a person make you happy is good things, not being a criminal, not doing bad things, not being distraction to other people. So those are the basic values that one should imbibe as you grow and the world becomes a better place. So, I got some interesting experiences and, we will discuss that if at all you're interested. There have been some fiascos in my travels, very interesting experiences, but I'm not going to go into them now unless you want to hear them later. Okay, and then I moved to my tax consulting. Once again, why and how I was able to get into the consulting line without too much of hassle and be able to gainfully employ myself is mainly because of my relationships. I used to work with a lot of these companies in my role in Shell. So those relationships I have maintained. It's not always transaction driven. If you know some people, don't make it transaction oriented. Like, I need this person only because he can do this for me or she can do that for me. A relationship is beyond all of that. So you would realize that a relationship goes a long way in helping you grow. You can never take it from me, and you would also hear it from a lot of people. We are never self-made. Starting from your birth, throughout your journey in life, there are always people and situations that help you and make you what you are. Yes, your efforts are important. That doesn't make you a completely self-made person. How you make use of the relationships, how you make use of the learnings, how you make use of the opportunities is what makes you. So take any of us, okay? We got our parents, our friends, our teachers, our colleagues, our mentors. There are so many people along the way who are helping you realize your potential. So many good-hearted people. So when somebody comes and says, I'm completely self-made, nothing can be farther from the truth. So never have that attitude that I'm totally self-made. No, all of us, whether it is, you know, Elon Musk or Bill Gates, to name, to name some people, to mere mortals like me, we have always been helped in our journey. And my positive attitude, again, I've dealt in very difficult countries like Iran, worked in Iraq. Those are very, very difficult countries because those are just beginning to grow. So staying positive and making sure that you are able to deliver the results despite all the hardships is what makes you someone to go after. So when these companies are looking for people, because they know my background, they are more than happy to engage with me. If I was somebody who was always a troublemaker or always complaining, I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to work with these companies. Again, respect for people. I don't have to reiterate that. Willing to take a risk. Yes, leaving a very good, well-paying job from Shell to stopping working for almost 2 years and then getting back to work. All that involves risk, but it's a balanced risk. I measured as to what I'm likely to lose if I stop working. I would have a great career, made some money, wisely invested them. So what I'm going to lose is possibly more money that I need. I don't need. So I said, okay, if I stop earning, I'm not going to be greatly disadvantaged. So it's okay to take the risk. I took the risk, traveled, came back, managed to get back to working. I make some good money, not the same as what Shell was paying, but I work a lot less. And I'm able to spend my time on traveling and doing a bit of gardening and investing, another passion of mine. So in summary, the basic values, including resilience and having a positive attitude despite all the challenges life throws at you, is what makes you a person and what makes you being at peace within yourself. So with that, I would like to just summarize, whatever I spoke about one way. Life is full of surprises. You're not always going to get all that you want. There are going to be disappointments in life. That's something which you should be prepared for. Never in life that you're always going to get all that you want. Okay. Of course, we got very limited needs. Maybe you'll realize 90-80% of your potential, but there are always going to be some setbacks in life. Despite that, you have to learn to remain positive. People like to be around, positive people. How many of you would like to go and spend time with somebody who's constantly whining and, complaining about things? Very few. They pull you down. They are pulling themselves down, and in the process, they're also pulling you down. So, being positive means, you are at peace and you'll also help yourself and others. Same is the case with staying resilient. Okay, that's fundamental. You can keep on complaining about what's happened to you, or look forward with optimism and do the right things. And so explore a bit more as to what you can do with what life presents. You guys are very fortunate. The youngsters are very, very fortunate that you have a lot more opportunities today. So for us, when we grew up, it was, always study, get some qualification, go and work somewhere and take care of your life, and then end up as, one in a billion. But life has got a lot more opportunities. You can explore, you can do different things. You can become an artist, you can become a musician, you can become a traveler, you can become a writer. There are so many opportunities in life that you can explore. So try and find out what makes you thrive. And in the process, cultivate some good relationships, have respect for people, and never compromise on your integrity. Always remain true to the basic human values, not lying, not cheating somebody, not backstabbing. So have the honesty to remain true to yourself and true to others. With all that, would I become successful? It depends on you. There is no one definition of success. Success means different things to different people. For someone, success could mean just sailing along and ending up doing nothing. That's fine. If that makes that person happy at no cost to somebody else, that's fine. But if you want to be, if you define success as being a corporate honcho, that's also fine. Or if you want to make a lot of money investing in bitcoins, that's also fine, as long as you define that as your success. So you have to define what success means to you and pursue that. And finally, be grateful. That's one thing that you people have to learn at a very young age. It's easy to complain and whine about things that are not going right, but in comparison to billions of people, almost every one of you is in a very, very fortunate situation. So you have to be grateful to life in general. Okay, that could mean your parents, your teachers, your friends, your mentors, and luck itself. Okay, you are so fortunate not to have the difficulties and misfortune that billions of others face outside of your circle. So be grateful, be thankful, have a positive attitude, help the less fortunate, and make life pleasant for yourself and for people around you. So with that, I just want to show you, um, this is the village where I was born. Okay, this is our house. This is the place where we were born and we grew up. And there's a temple. In most villages in rural India, you'll find a temple for each street or for in a couple of streets. So this is a place where we used to go almost every day to pray to God to make our lives better. And thankfully, God listened to me and He gave me a good life. Um, but very, very humble beginning. Again, I had to be very thankful to my parents, my uncles, my aunt, my siblings, my friends, my teachers, my mentors, and my bosses to making my life a pleasant one. I wouldn't call myself successful, but I'm a very happy person. And for me, I have reasonably been happy with whatever I've done. Yeah, there have been setbacks, but despite all that, I'm a very happy person, very contented person. Yes, most of you are going to be a lot more successful, a lot more contented. You're going to be a lot richer, but fantastic. Okay, but that's what defines success for you. Pursue it, explore it, enjoy life, because life is beautiful. The journey is beautiful. You look around, you got beautiful people around you. So there is no reason for to be sitting back and complaining, and there is every reason for you to be happy and cheerful and make life worth living for yourself and for your near and dear ones. So with that, I keep my promise of 40 minutes, and I will open this for any interesting thoughts, sharing of ideas, or even critique. Okay, so it's open. And not that I'm going to be able to respond to everyone to your satisfaction, but I'll try. Venkat, over to you, Venkat.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. It was very interesting and very nice to hear what you went through in the last 30 plus years of your career, and very interesting places you have lived and worked. That's very nice of you to share. So, guys, if you can start asking questions, you can unmute yourself, and then even if you can turn on your camera, that'll be nice. And if you can start with questions, that'll be nice.
Hi, my name is Meva, and I was wondering if you could tell us about your traveling fiascos.
Okay, yeah, I had a number of them. Okay, so the recent one was when we were traveling to Turkey. Okay, the lesson here is never ignore red flags. This is my lesson from this fiasco. I'll tell you what happened. So we came back from, I think, US or Canada. We came back to Dubai, and my wife had been wanting to go to Turkey. I've been there a number of times on work, so many times that I lost count. Probably around 15, 20 times I've been there. But my wife had never been there. My children had been there with their friends, and they came back and said, it's a beautiful place, you should go. I always used to go to Istanbul, come back, and explore a bit of Istanbul. I'd never gone beyond Istanbul, but a lot of other good places in Turkey to see. So I told my wife, let's try and see whether we can make a trip, because we got a small window of opportunity before we go to India. So I made the booking for tickets, hotels. I always planned meticulously, did all the planning, and I had my tickets. I applied, I booked the hotels, everything. Then my wife told me, when the girls went to Turkey, they were told clearly that the visa for Turkey is now online. You can't just land in Turkey and get a visa on arrival. Because in all my earlier trips on work, I used to go to the airport, get my visa stamped at the airport. So I thought that continued. They gave that visa on the basis that I had a US visa on my passport. My wife had too. So I said, there's no need. No, I think it's changed. So I went and checked. They said, you have to apply for online visa. I quickly went online, applied for my visa. My visa came back, no questions asked. In a couple of hours, my visa was ready. I applied at the same time for my wife's visa as well. It was taking longer. So something should have, it should have struck me. There's something wrong because both of us are traveling to the same country, from the same country. We have the same passport, Indian passport. I said, okay, maybe there's one of those stupid things that the immigration people always have. So I ignored that red flag. So it's a small red flag that my wife's is getting delayed, mine has come through. Then later they asked for her US visa copy. I sent it. Then they said, okay, it's approved. Here is the money to pay. When I saw the money to be paid, it was more than what I paid for my visa. Another red flag. I ignored it, thinking that these guys are stupid. So I finally got the visa, printed the visas, didn't even look at them. Okay, I went to the airport. I was traveling. We were traveling business class, which means you get to board just 30 minutes before the departure. So we go to the counter just 30 minutes before departure, and there's always a pre-board check for the visas. And the guy looks at my visa and says, your visa has been issued on the basis that you are an Emirati or someone who is born and brought up in Dubai and not an Indian. Only then I saw my visa. Believe me, I had not seen the visa because I thought, what's going to be wrong? I realized that my visa had a huge A on top and my wife's had a huge B on top. So there must be something different. Only then, after this guy pulled me aside, he told me, your visa has been issued as though you are an Emirates national. You're not. Your passport is Indian. I said, oh my God, it's only 30 minutes for the flight. And I tell him, hey, I've been to Turkey so many times. Look at my passport. I've traveled so much to Turkey. I got US visa, I got UK visa. On landing, I'm going to get my visa. They said, no, sir, it's all stopped. Unfortunately, I can't let you board. So I had paid for all the, taxis and hotels everywhere. And, I said, okay, what am I going to tell my people, back in Dubai when I go back and not traveling? So I had to explain to so many people why I didn't go, in addition to losing a lot of money. So I was, flabbergasted, but I was hoping that something would happen, something positive would happen. That's when a very authoritative looking person comes and looks at my passport and he says, okay, sir, very unfortunately, you can't travel, but you got another 25 minutes. So what I recommend is that you apply for a visa now, sitting at the airport. Apply for a visa, get the confirmation that it's being processed. I will let you board. I will let you board only because you are traveling business and you have a frequent flyer card, which is at a gold category. Normally, we would have simply, stopped you from traveling, but I'm going to exceptionally allow you to do that. Please sit and apply for a visa. Imagine you got 25 minutes for the flight. You have to open your laptop and get the right thing and make sure that you don't make those silly mistakes that you made the first time. My fingers were trembling. I was literally shaking. My wife was sitting next to me and she was very cool because this time I'm the one who made the mistake. So she was sitting and telling me, it's okay, do it. So quickly I applied for a visa at a very huge cost because it's a last minute visa. But those guys came back and said, do not start travel unless your visa is issued. So the visa may take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, but the flight is taking off another 20 minutes. I went back to the guy. That guy told me, which I'll never forget. He said, Shankar, I really appreciate your cool attitude. People, who are frequent flyers like you, traveling on business class, usually throw a tantrum. You're very cool. You must be a doctor. I said, no, I'm not. I'm a chartered accountant. But anyway, your wife must be a doctor. He said, no, she's not. She's a homemaker. Anyway, sir, okay, let me just check with Turkey. So he called the Turkey counterparts and finally just 7 or 8 minutes before departure, I was allowed to board. It was an unforgettable experience until I landed in Turkey and the visa had not come. A little bit of, tense waiting. I was able to get the visa online and then proceed through. And that's how we managed to see Turkey, a place called Cappadocia, which got a fantastic, very unique landscape, and a lot of good things we could do. So, it's a very interesting experience, which I'm happily sharing with a lot of people when I get a chance. But the learning is that don't be overconfident. When you see a red flag, take care, look into it. So that was one of the fiascos. Yeah, there have been probably 3, 4 more. Yeah. Thanks, Beda, for the question.
Thank you for sharing. That was really interesting.
Anybody else? Okay, so if somebody
Feel
is thinking
free.
about a question, I'm going to ask one.
Feel
So I
free
have
to share your thoughts, not necessarily questions. You can also share your thoughts. There's always something to learn from what you guys think. And Venkat, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Before sharing something, I just wanted to ask you this question because you have lived in a couple of other countries too. So uh, especially which is not a native English speaking country kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
how how do you manage, like, because daily conversation and things, maybe at a higher level, I know it's people
Yeah.
use English, but
Yeah.
still when it comes to working around, it is not very common that people will speak English. This is the question, and then I will share my experience based on this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the first assignment that I did outside of Dubai, I mean, Dubai, everybody speaks English, so it's not a big deal. But when I went to Iran, um, um, yeah, I actually was handpicked for a role with a Chinese company. So Shell had a partnership with a Chinese company, and they said, okay, we need some people with, your experience and background. Can you go to Iran for 2 years? Or it was supposed to be a long-term job. After 2 years, I had to come back because of sanctions. So I decided to go to Iran and live there for 2 years, knowing fully well that the Iranians don't speak good English. But to add to the problem, or to add to the challenge, it was a Chinese company. The Chinese are even more so. They hardly speak any English. So it was a company with around 200 Chinese people employing around 20, 30 Iranians. And I was the only Indian in that company. So, day-to-day conversations, yes, with the Chinese, you struggle a bit and you tune yourself to their speed. So you learn to speak in their tone, in their pace, and try and make sense of what they are trying to say. Yes, it's not that they're completely, non-English. They do speak a little bit of English, particularly even the organizations, when they send people to countries like Iran, they always send people who can get by with a little bit of English. But it is not easy. It is extremely challenging, even within the organization where people are professional, qualified, and stuff like that. But again, how do you overcome that? Yeah, you have to be patient. You can get very irritated with the way these people are unable to converse or unable to explain their thoughts. But you have to be patient. You have to support them and help them realize what they are there to do. And that's, even today when I speak to my colleagues in Syria or Egypt, where I've worked extensively, gone there extensively on work. So they all appreciate the fact how I was able to, explain things, teach them, coach them. So I take a lot of personal satisfaction in doing it. So yeah, it is difficult, particularly when you have to interact with people outside the organization. But that's what makes it interesting. So I learned a bit of Persian, a lot of similarities between Hindi and Persian. So I was beginning to construct a few sentences, but after 2 years, we had to come back because the European sanctions made it impossible for Shell to continue in Iran. Similarly, when I went to Poland, it was managing a team of around 150 Polish people. 150 Polish people, with the exception of one person who was Hungarian. Again, very interesting experiences. So they took me to Poland only because they couldn't find somebody locally to manage the team. The local manager wasn't really measuring up to the expectations. They said, okay, Shankar, can you go and help them? So I took the challenge. Okay, one is it fulfills my desire to travel, explore a different place, live in a different place. And when you are sent abroad from Dubai, you also get a lot of additional benefits. The money is fantastic. So I said, okay, I'll go to the, Poland. So they said, okay, after you're, we'll try for some time. If you're able to develop somebody locally, then we will make that person in charge. Otherwise, you may have to continue for some more time. So I went there and started working closely with those people. The language barrier notwithstanding, they are very fluent in Polish, sort of okay with English. They speak reasonable good English to get by, but not very fluent or comfortable. But despite that, I was able to work with such a large team and develop a local lady, a Polish lady, to take over from me. And this is when my boss, the VP, was telling me, Shankar, don't even try that person. She has proved to be unfit. And that's the reason why you're here. She's senior enough to be holding a position, but she's not there only because she didn't meet our criteria. So I took it as a challenge to develop her. So she was somebody who was very nervous and unable to face up to people at a senior level. She could never say no. And so that made a lot of things difficult for her, so much so that she was being seen as unfit to be a senior person. But I took it as a challenge and made her realize her potential. She always wanted to be my role. She wanted that role, but she couldn't. So years time, I was able to do that, and the company was very happy because compared to me, having a local person is half expensive because I am a very expensive resource coming from Dubai, settling there, and they take care of everything like your accommodation, your food, your taxes, everything is paid for in addition to my salary in Dubai. So that makes it very expensive. Whereas a local person comes at half the cost. So yeah, it was very fulfilling, interesting, and that person who became a manager took over from me. Even today, she is very thankful. Again,
Nice.
okay, all of us get helped by a lot of people around us.
Yeah,
Okay, how we make use of that, how we realize that, how we recognize that, and how we remain grateful is what differentiates you.
that's very nice and
So,
interesting.
what's your
Yeah.
experience, Venkat?
Yeah, so I have yeah, I have lived in a couple of places which is not native speaking. First is within India where I don't speak Hindi, but I went to study in a Hindi speaking place for 1.5
Mhm.
2 years. When I was in the dorm, nobody speaks English, though they all study in English, but they don't speak English, so it was
Okay.
tough. Some things we can pick up and understand, but not everything. Then I lived in Japan for some time, so there
Mhm.
also it's the same thing. They try to speak in English, but by the time they construct a sentence and tell you, you probably will guess what they're going to say because they want to be perfect. So they will not say anything which is not uh, correct. Like,
Yeah.
oh, no, I didn't mean this. Like, this is what I was trying to say. That's what here, even in US, people will say right straight off something, and then they'll say, okay,
Yeah.
that's not what they want to say. They will change them 3 times, 5 times sometimes.
Yeah.
But Japanese are like, they will construct every word in their mind, from Japanese to English, and then they
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
run it through probably once or twice, maybe, I don't know, and then they will speak. So what I learned is that anytime I set up a meeting, so this is something which probably, may be helpful for others. You set up a meeting for normally if you're going to talk to people in one common language with everybody and everybody is fluent enough, then maybe if you want a meeting for 30 minutes, it will probably end in 30 minutes. You can possibly end it within 30 minutes. But if it is a meeting wherein people are having, language barriers and they are going to take time to understand and respond to you, if it's a 30 minutes meeting, it's definitely not supposed to be set up for 30 minutes because it's not going to end in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
By the time everybody understands something and then they come up with an answer, you probably even have been gone through half the meeting. So you need longer time. So that's something which I learned, and I'm sharing here that that's something important, especially when you're doing business. Otherwise, what happens is people feel very disrespectful to them that you didn't give them an opportunity to
Yeah.
talk. You set up a meeting and then you didn't give them the opportunity to ask question or answer the questions, and so that doesn't go well. And after that, there will be like 20 different emails flying back and forth, and that's not the purpose of the meeting.
Yeah.
So that's something I learned. And in my current job also, I have people who are, a lot of us are non-native English speakers, which includes me, right? So I'm not a native speaker. I can say that I have some fluency, but I am not a native speaker. So including me, there are a lot of people who are working in my team who are all non-native speakers, right? Except for a few, pretty much everybody's native language is
Yeah.
something else other than English. And it's the same thing I see even now. They are all as experienced as me, like 20 years or 30 years in the industry they are. But it takes a while, like, because of the accent, because of where from we are talking. Like, I am in one part of the world, they are in another part of the world, and how you try to ask a question um, may not be the same way as they speak. So sometimes they have
Yeah.
to understand that and answer. It doesn't and then to, oh, it's almost time for the meeting to end, so probably maybe we'll set up a one-on-one and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not the intent. You want everybody means, then it needs to be we need to be mindful of that language barrier, even though they speak fluent English, but it's not always very successful. That's what is my experience. And I have a question in the chat box from Amrita. Okay, so
Okay.
she wants to get some advice or thoughts from you, how to maintain confidence and positive attitude even when people around those around you have negative
Mhm.
thoughts, or they're like constantly saying negative things.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of mental strength. You have to be mentally very strong. Okay, it's a constant reinforcement, self reinforcement. Okay, come what may, this is what I think is the right approach, and this is what I think I should be doing to make it positive, to make it work, or to find a solution. Uh, it's it takes a lot of work personally within yourself. It's self coaching, talking to positive people outside the negative sphere. It could be your friend, it could be your parents, it could be a teacher, mentor outside the negative circle, and then making sure that you try to bring in the positivity amongst the negative people. All of us go through this in life, particularly in corporate life. You would always find situations where some people or many people will be negative, but the only way to um, thrive in such a situation is to self train yourself. There are plenty of, okay, you can read books, you can watch TED Talks. There are a lot of motivational videos available, and reinforce yourself that, okay, you have the basic skills in you. Why? I mean, you can lack confidence if you're, don't have any skills, but, I'm sure almost every one of you in the group has had the good fortune of being brought up by very smart people around you, good friends, good teachers. So you have the basic ingredients to be successful in life. What matters is how do you put to use. The only way you can put to use is constantly reminding yourself that I am capable, I can do it. Of course, you can't go and launch a rocket and say by telling yourself I'm going to launch a rocket. Okay, be reasonable in your expectations, but in a normal working environment, you are there in that situation only because somebody has recognized that you can do it. You would never end up in a situation where you're completely unfit. So you are seen to be fit. You are seen to be fit for that role or for that task. So have the faith in yourself that yes, I know what it takes to deliver, and I know what I need to do. Or if I don't know, I could ask around, I should discuss, I should consult, and then deliver. But feeling that I am lost, I'm going to be exposed is not going to help you at all. It's going to make it worse. I mean, there have been number of situations at work where I have been exposed to difficult situations. Okay, one such instance, how many of you have heard of a country called Comore Islands? Has anybody heard of a country called Comore Islands?
No.
It's a
Maybe
country.
only
It's called
Komodo
Comoros.
dragons. We have never heard of island.
It's called Comoros, okay, or Comore. It's a French colony. It used to be a French colony. Now it's an independent country. I had a situation where Emirates made some excess payments to the oil company there, because Emirates was flying to Comore Islands and we used to buy fuel there. And for some reason, one of my team members had applied a wrong rate to convert that into, the local currency and paid massively excess money. And which, during a routine review, we picked it up. I didn't pick it up. Someone else picked it up and said, Shankar, there seems to be some problem here. So I had to go personally, one person, travel all the way to Comore, people who speak mostly French, and they may not share the same values that you have of integrity, honesty, and things like that. And they basically told me, go take a walk. You're not getting the money back. Once it's paid, it's our money. So there are companies who think like that. And there are people who think like that. So I was there for 2 days negotiating with them and trying to arrange a settlement or agree a settlement as to how we can recover the money. So there's so much of pushback, so much of negativity, so much of challenge in managing a situation like that when the company representatives, 5, 6 of them are sitting there and you're alone. So you never dealt with them in the past, face to face. You know the situation anywhere else, like in Europe, it would have been obvious. Yes, we made a mistake, we'll pay it back to you. But they're feeling lonely or feeling that I'm unable to get an agreement and worried about what am I going to tell my people back in Dubai, would have made it worse. So I persevered, stood there for 2 days and got them to agree a settlement where they said, okay, you can offset against the future payments over a number of months. So it's just one example. I mean, there are so many initiatives that happen in corporates, okay, rolling out something or the other. So you have to go and explain to a lot of people and then make them buy in. So this is where, again, you have to be very, very strong mentally. You have to have the confidence in yourself. Even if you don't have it, you have to try and cultivate that habit in yourself. Yes, I am here only because people recognize that I can deliver. And having come to this position, what am I supposed to do? So learn the situation, understand the situation, analyze the situation, try to come out with solutions. Then constantly worry about your vulnerabilities. In fact, being vulnerable, being anxious is a great thing to have, but don't let that overtake your positive side. So it is self-coaching, self-motivation, self-reinforcement, and taking help from people who can genuinely help you. That's what we're going to help you manage the situation. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to add on to that, from my side, I just also would say like confidence is something like if you want to maintain, I think you have to take that initiative. There's always people to pull you down, like, but you need to take small steps and then show that what you can do and prove it to people, whoever said that, and that will actually boost your self confidence. And as the other things, as Mr. Shankar said that, yes, Mohan, sorry, Rahul, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi. So, your story, your presentation was really great. I really enjoyed it. So, one question I have is like, obviously, retiring is like a big part of like after you get a job, you live your life, you're earning your money, then stepping away and retiring is like a big thing. So, would you say that like all your experiences and past experience with all your job and the different careers you had, is that what gave you the confidence to retire and say, I can still make money, I can still enjoy my life, and I don't have to like know that I have to risk everything to do it?
Yeah, there are two things. One is having the financial backing to realize that, okay, I don't need the money anymore. And whatever that I'm going to make, slogging that job, which I don't enjoy anymore, is going to make it worse. Money is great to have as long as you can make use of it for your pleasure or happiness or safety. So I decided, okay, I have enough money to take care of myself, even if I stop working for the next, if I don't work at all. So that's a position that I was able to come to mainly because
I don't know whether it's because of my educational qualifications, but again, the upbringing, the way our parents taught us how to be meticulous in a planning. Okay, so I was able to plan right from a very early stage of my career as to how I should invest my money. So working in a bank and working in different companies also gave me the opportunity to learn from people how you can productively use your money. You can keep it in the bank and let it earn interest, which takes care of the inflation, or you can make the money work for you. And I was fairly successful in making the money work for me, where I could multiply it, not 200 times, but I could multiply it so much so that I said, money is not one of my problems anymore. So that's a good situation to be in when you decide to leave. Okay. And the second thing is, okay, I have certain abilities that I can make productive use of. It may take some time for me to establish myself, to get the clients and to start making money, but I don't need to start making money right from day one. So the confidence that you can make use of your skills added by the financial position that you are in because of your planning and wise investments is what enabled me to retire. And the third thing is, I was never defining myself that Sankar is defined by his job. That's not the case. For some people, working means everything, and they are listless. They are, basically directionless once they stop working. But that's their way of looking at things. But for me, I value my personal definition much more than my corporate definition. Okay, I'm there. I'm reasonably mentally strong. I am there to help people as much as possible, and I'm there to manage my investments. I've done it reasonably well. So if I don't do it now, what's the purpose? So to summarize, it's a financial backing, okay, aided by good planning, and secondly, your confidence in yourself that I can still make it work, okay, and thirdly, not tying down yourself to a job. Yeah, you can become an entrepreneur yourself. You can start your own company. You can do some philanthropic work. You can travel. There are so many things that you can do, and that can bring you more happiness than being tied down to a job. I'm not saying that you should not work, but there are different things that you can try out in life. And starting at 25, 23 and ending up 65, working 9 to 5 and making some fixed sum of money, if that's what's going to define your success, fantastic. Okay, but for me it was different. I said, okay, I'm not going to be tied down to my job for life. And so I planned towards it, making sure that I build up enough corpus that I don't consider money as a necessity anymore, or regular income as a necessity. That's what enabled me. So Rahul, if you're planning for it, all the best to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That
Once you
provides
start
some
working,
insight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else wants to go next?
May I go next? Anu here.
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir, first of all, I've been enjoying this session so much. Thank you for it. And my question is regarding the experience that comes along with your travel. When you've had the opportunity to speak with people who speak different languages from different regions and religions, there would have been some takeaways saying that this is the best value I've heard from this culture, which I have not heard in India, or this is something that went strong in your mind or thoughts,
Okay.
something that you brooded about. Can you share something about that, please?
Okay. As I mentioned, people at the base level, everybody is the same. They want to have a good life. They want to love. They want to be loved. They want to, avoid sadness and sorrow. They want to make everybody happy. That's an underlying thread. That's a basic DNA of human beings, I would think. There are always, as I said, outliers. Okay, let's not talk about them. But having said that, living in Iran for 2 years, made me appreciate their culture. They are extremely hospitable people, very, very welcoming, and very accommodating of other cultures. But one particular incident, when I was traveling in a place called Shiraz, the car had stopped at a traffic light, and there was a beggar.
So he asked for some money. I gave him some money. And the sentence that he used went on something like this: may God make sure that the hand that gave me this money does not hurt. Okay, what it means is that, I appreciate your help so much that I pray to God that he doesn't hurt the hand that gave me the money. So culturally, the Persians, the original inhabitants of Iran, are extremely nice people. Even today, 1,200 years after the country got changed, even today the Persian culture is so ingrained in them. Very nice people and hospitable people, and more importantly, very, very respectful of other people. And this is one experience which made me realize that it's such a nice country to live in. I really enjoyed living there. The people were great. The food was great. It was quite peaceful, contrary to what many of you may be thinking. Iran is one of the most peaceful countries for an expatriate to live in. I had a lot of Dutch people living there, working for Shell. British people, they all loved living there. Anyway, so that's one thing which stood out in my experience. But otherwise, I dealt with people in a lot of Middle Eastern countries and a lot of European countries. The underlying thing is basic values: integrity, respect for people, being grateful, ability to help people, and the desire to help people. Those are the things that I could see everywhere, and that made me realize, despite all the perceptions and preconceived notions, at the end of the day, we are destined to be one. Okay, we are not perfect. Nobody is perfect. We all have our idiosyncrasies. We have our perceptions, but by and large, I try to bring myself back to the basic values. And so, by no stretch of imagination, I'm not thinking of myself as a perfect human being. A lot of flaws, but within that, I feel generally happy that I'm doing what I've been able to do.
Thank you.
Anybody else next?
My name is Tirtha. I was wondering, I know it's good to have the ability to say no, but when do you know that it's actually the right thing to say at that point?
Okay, it can vary from situation to situation. For example, somebody was asking me about the lack of confidence, and in a situation where you are anxious, you're unable to deliver, people around you are all negative. Okay, if it's a situation where, number one, you know perfectly well that you are not the right person to do, just for the sake of a sort of very unique situation, hypothetical situation. Okay, if somebody asked me to go and be in charge of an oil refinery because they see me as a good accountant or a good tax person, and they say, Shankar, you can learn it, go and manage it. Okay, for me to think about it and say no would be the right thing to do, because you're definitely not cut out for that. So when you realize that you are not the person to deliver something which people expect you to deliver, it's better to say no at that time than to disappoint them later. So that's something which you should be able to make an assessment as to whether you would be able to fulfill the expectation of someone else. The second thing is, you have the capabilities, you are able to do it. But if the situation around you, okay, if you're full of negative people who have the ability and the capacity to overturn your decisions, yes, you can make an effort to turn the situation and still deliver. But when you realize that what you're trying to do is not going to be successful only because of the situation around you, when you realize that, it is better to say no than to keep up the expectation of other people and disappoint them later. Okay, so it is again a conscious thought process. You have to be aware of what the expectations are, what the situation is, and what your capabilities are vis-a-vis the expectations and the situation, and then decide no. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there is no, A plus B is equal to C. Definition is not there. It all depends on the situation and depends on your background, your expectations, and somebody else's expectations of you. Those things you have to put together and come to a conclusion. That's a brilliant question, but unfortunately, I don't have a definition for that or a formula for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like, can I have pizza tonight? No, that's not how soon we are going to get the answer. But yes, just for fun, I said that's a great question, Tirtha. Yeah. So just yeah, if somebody else has a question, please go ahead. Otherwise, I have a question which I was I thought like Anu has pretty much asked that question. I thought, but narrowly it was slightly different. So the question is during
Venkat,
travel.
Venkat, can I have one time check? At 9 a.m. Dubai time, I have a hard stop.
Yeah, we'll stop in another
Yeah.
like 7 minutes or so, around
Okay,
8:15.
maybe
Yes.
maybe give opportunity for others to just share their thoughts. Okay,
Yes, please.
but go on. We'll keep it crisp. Yeah.
No, I was just I'm going to ask like if you have any learnings or something that when you picked up from travel and you thought like, oh, that's a great thing that I have never thought about, or I would like to also uh, do that in my everyday life, or during that kind of situation, like you want to do that or something like that. Is there something like that you picked up?
Nothing stands out, but the thing is, wherever you go, okay, when you are lost for things, okay, whether it is direction or what to eat, where to eat, what to do, okay, there are always people who are willing to help you, go out of the way to help you. Okay, and this I have found almost in every place that I've been to, because the moment they realize that you're somebody who needs help, people are so welcoming and so coming forward to help you. Okay, that's a basic human quality, and that's what I picked up from various travels. Okay, and meeting people, you don't have to travel for that. You can also see it around you wherever you go. But I think the desire, the basic desire to help people when they need something is something which I picked up not only from my interaction with people where I live, but also from my travels. And again, the basic value of we are all the same at the end of the day.
Anybody else? Any other question, thoughts, something what you learned during your travel to some place within US, outside of US? Anybody?
Or maybe I have a question for people. So if people can, I know at least few of you can name one country that you would really want to visit. Anybody has any such desires that I definitely want to go to this country? Leave aside India.
Sri Lanka for me.
Sri Lanka, okay, that's one.
I've always wanted to go to Germany.
France.
Germany, okay. Sri Lanka, Germany.
I've always wanted to go to France. I've been learning French in high school, and I really want to like use it and like learn their culture and everything.
Okay, brilliant, okay.
Burma?
Which one?
Burma?
Myanmar, okay, yeah. Fantastic. Myanmar is in my bucket list for sure. Okay, in addition to countries like Laos and Myanmar, Bangladesh, Yemen, all those trouble countries as well, like Somaliland. Yeah, those are all in my bucket list. I've been to Sri Lanka. It's a beautiful country. Again, very, very hospitable, fantastic culture. So much to see and so much to explore. Germany is great. I've been there. France, yes, I've been there. Again, great. Yes, Myanmar, and yes, one day I will do that. I have a friend living there now. One day we'll go there. Yeah.
What's one country that you haven't visited yet that you really want to go to?
Oh, Tirtha, I got a number of countries. Myanmar is one of them. Okay, Laos, Cambodia. Okay, to see the massive temples there. I want to go to Indonesia. I've not been there. And coming this side, I would like to go to Yemen. I would like to go to Somaliland. I'd like to go to South Sudan. I would like to go to Palestine. I saw Palestine from Jordan. Okay, I could see the Palestinian coast from Jordanian coast. I've seen that, but I would like to travel there. Yeah, one day when things improve, I would like to go there. So it's not one country. I got multiple countries in my bucket list that I want to see.
I have a country.
What's that?
What about Singapore?
You're asking me?
Yeah, like have you? Do you want to go to Singapore or?
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, probably 4 or 5 times to Singapore. Okay, explored the small island. Beautiful place.
great food, and great attractions. Yeah, been there. Been to Singapore, been to Malaysia. Interesting places. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is so much to explore in India for me. There are so many places that I want to explore in India, and also in the US. I've only seen around 38 states, and that two tiny parts of each of the states. I got so many other states to see, and so many other places to visit, and so many other things to do. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Any other questions or any thoughts before we wrap up this session? Anybody? Anything? If there's no more questions or thoughts, can we end this session today saying thank you to Mr. Shankar today for his time and sharing his thoughts and experience, travel experience. So now we know how it is to get those experience. At least from you, we have heard some nice, interesting things and learned some new countries. And so that's definitely something I think people will be looking forward for making their travel plans as they start working. Whenever they get to start working, and they have a small bucket list of places to make and visit them. So thank you very much, and thanks for the time. And yeah, thank you everybody. And it was nice talking to you, sir, as well. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye. Have a good
everybody.
day.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Venkat, for making this happen, and thanks, Rahul, for interesting questions. Tirtha as well, and yeah, a couple of others who asked nice questions. Thanks a lot. And there's supposed to be on resilience. Travel also makes you resilient in addition to the corporate life. So always stay positive. Look forward to life. It's a beautiful life that you've been gifted with, and enjoy your life and make life happy for your near and dear ones. Okay. Take care and stay safe. And thanks once again for this opportunity.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. You have a wonderful day. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everybody.